Hello, Buju, Tansi, Anin. Hello. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for a night of abolition, poetry, and song. I am Issa Kixon. I am the co-founder and co-producer of Woke Comedy Hour. I am a comedian and a drag king and a writer, and I do all sorts of stuff all over the city. And I am your host for this evening. So this fundraiser event was created in part to support the Prairie Province Prisoner Support Fund. The support fund was created as a response to the inaction of the government to adequately provide support for people on the inside, those who have been released and their families at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. While people on the outside were directed to stay at home, social distance, and wear PPE in crowded spaces to protect their loved ones, the same care and caution were not given to the people on the inside. Calls for decarceration were made across so-called Canada, as numerous stories and prisoner accounts highlighted the distressing level of mistreatment and denial of care inside those institutions. Throughout the pandemic, prison environments have become even more grim. Many institutions have completely shut down visitation, are in 22 to 23-hour lockdowns, and some people are not given any PPE or even adequate basic hygiene products. Despite being in overcrowded, unsanitary spaces where social distancing for most is not possible. For the people who have been recently released, there has been little to no support made available for them to cover even their basic needs, which is something that has been that way for a while. This fundraiser is a response to the urgent need for support during the pandemic, but the urgency with which we need to remember the great harms that the prison system is inflicting is ongoing, and we must respond with the same urgency today and every day. Moving forward, as Black and Indigenous peoples lives are being taken by the hands of racist and violent penal systems, we must take action in dismantling these systems to protect our people. We do this work in solidarity with and alongside all of the people who have been fighting these systems for generations. The Prairie Province Prisoner Support Fund is organized by Freelance Free People. Freelance Free People is a new Indigenous-led penal abolition group situated in Amiskwachi, Waskahigan. Freelance Free People has teamed up with organizations and people across the prairies for this event. Number one, bar none, a Winnipeg-based abolitionist prisoner solidarity group. That is bar none Winnipeg, WPG.org. Freelance Free Peoples has teamed up with organizations and people across the prairies for this event. I just read a line that I already read. Sorry about that. Number two, a member of the Prison Libraries Committee, a volunteer group that brings books and literacy programming inside for facilities in Manitoba. And abolition activists in Saskatoon, and or Danielle and Erica can describe themselves here. So do you guys want to describe yourselves? Oh, I could just keep going? Okay, I'm going to do that. Together, they have formed a new prairie-wide abolition network, the Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta Abolition Coalition, or SMAAC. SMAAC is a loose but committed network of prairie abolition groups that come together to support our various local endeavors, share information, and work to build a strong regional abolition movement in the prairie provinces. The link to the fundraiser is in the video description, and we'll be sharing some donations as they come in, whether it's by donating to the fund, sharing the info on social media, or having tough conversations with friends and families about the importance of abolition. We can all contribute to the ending prisons and policing in the prairie provinces. In our collective understanding, abolition is a framework for imagining and creating a world without prisons and police. As Black feminist abolitionists like Angela Davis, Ruth Wilson Gilmore, Beth Ritchie, and Andrea Ritchie have long theorized and practiced, abolition is not just about dismantling the current system, it is about imagining and creating a world where the system isn't necessary. A world where we work together to find alternative ways of understanding justice that are rooted in care and true accountability. Abolition asks us to create a long-lasting society-wide structural change. It is a joyful project that celebrates our ability to create and sustain relationships of care and a collective flourishing. In the words of Ruth Wilson Gilmore, abolition requires that we change one thing: everything. Our program tonight includes performers from across Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta, interspersed with words from SMAAC organizers about why we need abolition everywhere, with specific ideas about what a regional theory and practice of abolition needs to include. This is organized into 10 reasons, and we'll be going through that. But we hope you will continue to build this list of reasons beyond these 10, because we know the reasons are infinite. We will start the night with our SMAAC organizer, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
My name is Carrie Auger. My family's from Treaty 8 territory, but I've been living in Amiskwichi for most of my life. And I'm speaking on behalf of Freelands Free Peoples tonight. So I'm going to start us off with the 10 reasons to support prairie abolition, reason number 1, 2, and 3. So reason number 1, prisons and policing are foundational to anti-Blackness and settler colonialism on the prairies. The Northwest Mounted Police, now RCMP, were created and used to help suppress Indigenous resistance to settler expansion onto the prairies in the mid-late 19th century, and to contain and control Indigenous bodies and actions, a role that they continue to fill. In the early 20th century, the Indian Pass system, a system that was enforced by the RCMP, forcibly trapped First Nations people on the reserve and required them to obtain permission from an Indian agent to leave the reserve. Alongside this, Métis and Inuit people were effectively being kept out of urban centers. The pass system worked in conjunction with the ongoing use of the Indian residential school system, which was modeled and built with the aims to punish and contain Indigenous children. Around this time, incarceration rates were no more than 1 to 2%. After the repeal of the pass system in 1951, rapid post-war urbanization of both Indigenous and non-Indigenous people across Canada, and the use of residential schools being in slow decline, we see an immediate increase in children's seizures by Children and Family Services, resulting in over 20,000 children being taken from their families during the 60s scoop and continuing today. We also see incarceration of Indigenous peoples rise by 2 to 3% every single year from the 1960s until today. We can see that prisons and child and family services have effectively replaced the Indian Pass system and residential school system to continue the work of violent dispossession and containment of Indigenous peoples. In similar ways, anti-Black racism was prevalent during the time of settlement on the prairies, with discriminatory practices of border patrolling and immigration recruitment agents discouraging prospective Black settlers from coming to Canada. Just as the Northwest Mounted Police were deployed to quell Indigenous resistance to settlement, Canada also deployed them to keep Black people out of the prairies, to keep Black prairie communities in a subordinate position, and to suppress Black prairie labor and political movements. It's also important to remember that places like Edmonton, which had a widespread and influential presence of white supremacist organizations like the KKK, now have large policing bodies that target Black people for harassment and criminalization through practices like carding and racial profiling. Anti-Black and anti-Indigenous racism are the basis for both policing on the prairies and the ongoing maintenance of the Canadian state through the disciplining and punishment of Black and Indigenous lifeways. Reason number 2. That's my that's my cat. Ignore that. Reason number 2: prisons and policing are antithetical to Wekotowin and Miowachitowin. For many Indigenous peoples on the prairies, Indigenous Nihiao justice traditions are grounded in Wekotowin, the recognition of the interconnectedness and interdependence of all our relations, and the ongoing commitment to be in Miowachitowin, good relations to each other, the land, and all that is of the land. A key part of the refusal to recognize Indigenous sovereignty on the prairies has been the forcible replacement of Indigenous legal traditions and attitudes with colonial ones. In contrast to Wekotowin and Miowachitowin, settler legal traditions on the prairies were developed and implemented to ensure settler control over land, the removal of Indigenous peoples from the land, and the reformation of land into settler property for the purposes of ongoing colonial expansion and extraction of resources. This violent dispossession continues to be legitimized through the assumption of the validity of settler legal regimes over Indigenous peoples. Settler legal regimes directly oppose and contradict the tenets of prairie Indigenous laws and likewise through the privileging of a punitive and violent system that does not allow us to be in respectful, reciprocal, and responsible relations with each other. Reason number 3, prisons are contrary to treaty. None of the prairie number treaties, nor any historical treaties anywhere in so-called Canada, have ever relinquished Indigenous sovereignty or agreed to the implementation of settler legal regimes over Indigenous nations. Treaties are meant to articulate how Indigenous and non-Indigenous people can live together in balanced, mutually respectful ways that recognize Indigenous people's sovereignty. The way that Canada has chosen to misinterpret and implement its treaty obligations runs contrary to the spirit, intent, and content of prairie treaties. Nowhere in treaties did First Nations peoples give up their political or legal self-governance or autonomy. For the Métis, who are not signatories of any historical treaty with the Crown, the unilateral extension of settler legal systems over their communities is a similar violation of their peoplehood, their laws, and governance traditions. Thank you. Back to you, Eva.
Thank you so much for that, Carrie. Now we are going to move on to our first performer of the evening, and that is Echo Aboriginal. Janelle Echo Aboriginal, Piwos Siconius. I should have asked for that name before I said it, and I apologize, Janelle. Pronouns are she, her, is Ania spoken word poet, community engaged researcher, social innovator, and public speaker based in Treaty Lands, now known as Little Pine First Nation, Treaty 6 territory on Saskatchewan. As a single mother, Janelle has studied and graduated from the University of Saskatchewan in Indigenous Peoples Lands Management and Renewable Resource Management, as well as from the Saskatchewan Indian Institute of Technologies in Business and Administration. During her post-secondary journey, she became integrated in environmental and social justice grassroots and youth movements in and around Saskatoon, which has informed her of how to step in community and practice care for all relationships. On to you.
Danse, Inuak, Gikawi Nawaski Nisiga Sun, Manaiko Sis Niaute. I just want to see if my sound levels are good. I just want to double check. I'm outside. This is the first time I've done this outside. Maybe, yeah, Molly? Okay, good. Thank you, everybody. What I said there was, my name is Janelle Piwowskonius. I come from Little Pine First Nation on top of the hill. Recording live from Little Pine First Nation. And I am reading two poems back to back. And I have my res dog in the background. So if I see him distracted, he's demanding all my love right now. And so with that, I would like to read my poems that speak to settler colonialism as well as anti-Blackness in this land and in this place. And I offer space to folks if they want to talk afterwards. Just drop me a chat, okay? So thank you for having me here today. Here we go. His name needs no introduction. His name, 2 syllables and a brown-faced obstruction. His name was 22 years and 88 seasons until his horrible destruction. His name is 1 word, a 6 English letter construction. His name was my brother, my lover, my friend, and my son. His name erased for 10 G's and a farmer's shotgun. His name frightens and heightens, and the grips on our sons tighten and enlightens this dark like it's midnight sun. His name tastes like our tears. His name is written with all of our mama's fears. His name was tarnished with ignorant tongues and hateful sneers. His name is reconciliation, 500 years in arrears. His name, Trook, Crook, trespasser, or better off dead. His name met his fate on a settler farmstead. His name states our hearts with unnecessary bloodshed. His name was called a non-unique issue by the Premier of Saskatchewan instead. His name is get the hell off my property owned on stolen land. His name tells us they don't know about the whiteness, man. His name resounds with sins against the indigenous land. His name was called a mistake of leaving 3 witnesses stand. And his name is hard to love in this times of hate. His name is the face of all of our unjust fate. His name are reflective of the land ties and Wakutu win. His name is love for all of our relations, the people, the planets, the animals, our kin. See, we are borrowed bodies living on this stolen land, so we say his name. His name is the invisible line we've drawn in the sand, and we say his name. His name is the air, the rocks, and the trees, and we say his name. His name is Colton Boucher. But let me end that introduction with this conduction. Their names, 2 words in a white English letter construction. Their names plus melanin in Canada equals brown-faced obstruction. Their names, a cataclysm for colonialism's destruction. At home, their names is my partner, my parent, my child, a loved one. Their names erased in the name of property and some trigger-happy gun. Their names frighten and heighten, the grips on our brown boys tighten and awoke in this land like it's midnight sun. And the tragedy is, their names taste like our tears. Their names are heavy, carried with all their mama's fears. Their names are tarnished with ignorant tongues and hateful sneers. Their names are reparations, 500 plus years in arrears. But first, the truth. Their names are stolen lives with stolen resources on stolen land. Their name painted as evil across every conservative-owned newsstand. Their names, they shout them, they tell us go back to our motherland. Their names say they don't know anything but settler colonialism, man. And they label us crook or dirty or better off dead when their ignorant ride shotgun with racism instead. When their blue bias plus power equals unnecessary bloodshed. We call the margins, come inside, let us break bread. And their names teach us to reach out in times of hate. The names become our net. We stand together, we will not break. Their names call indigenous land ties, Ekwawaku to win. We shout their names, defend our relations, the people, the planets, the animals, our kin. See, we are borrowed bodies just living on the stolen land. And we say their names. And their names are the lines visible. Now we draw them in the sand and we say their names because there's far too many, and far too long. We say their name, we're strong. Call for justice. defund police brutality, and we say their names. Regis Paquette-Korchitsky, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, DeAndre Campbell, Randy Cochran, Chantel Moore, Aisha Hudson, and Colton Bushi. So thank you for your time and the space to read those poems. And in solidarity, I recognize that they're kind of heavy. So maybe I'll lead a collective breath before I go. Let's do an inhale. Hold. Exhale. And maybe one more time. Breathe in. Hold it. And then exhale. So thank you everyone for allowing me the space to speak in solidarity with this project. You know, there's so much to unpack for me and how I came to writing those poems. Let's just say that Colton's not the only one that's happened to. And with that, thank you for letting me open your night. Muestas. I'll see you again.
Wow, miigwech, Janelle, those words were really powerful and really impactful and so vital to, you know, all of us here who are living on Turtle Island. So I just want to say again, miigwech. And now we're moving on to Super Duty Tough Work. And just a little before, like it's not a live, we're doing a video recording. So let's give it up for Super Duty Tough Work.
1, 2, 3. Yes, this is a communique from the Giants Embassy. Super Duty Tough Work. Know what I mean? We're broadcasting live and direct to you and yours, wherever you at, wherever you be. Know what I mean? Nothing changes. It's still Kisaki Tim, my dear. Know what I mean? Listen, it's like a soloist on a solo list, notable. While most my foes disposable, we slow to grow but gradually rose to be most quotable. My cup runneth over, drowning in my overflow. Baby face with that old soul and gold stroll with the holy roll. We're cooking like mild solos on Oleo, while they're hoping for cold signs from OVO. I'm like, you need to change your whole approach and listen close as we set the tone. They on the take, taking payments, hold us back. It takes nations, trust me, you can't Donald Trump me, B. I know you like that Flavor Flav Steve, but I'm just too Chuck D and must be an heir to the throne. Don't get too comfy, and that's word to these mannequins. You still bland with the rebrand fam, while the raps we kick keep us on the blacklist like Colin Kaepernick. And I ain't even stressed. It's the king that wiped the empress. You just a hipster in a headdress. A Becky with good hair and a white savior's complex. New non-profit, just an expansion of the conquest. Yeah, and you know that that's real. And you may not like my take, but baby, that's just how I feel. In the hour of chaos, we appearing as black steel. And when we start the revolution, all we trying to do is heal, heal, heal. All we trying to do is heal. And we still, cause we like to hear him squeal. Whose world is this? It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Whose world is this? It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Whose world is this? What? Talk to me, talk. And then the people say, whose world is this? It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Whose world is this? It's yours. Yes. Man, it is our honor and pleasure to spend this evening with y'all. You know what I mean? Big shout out to SMAAC. Big shout out to Bar None. Big shout out to all the performers tonight. Thank you for asking us to be a part of this. You know what I mean? We appreciate it. And we hope you raise a bunch of dough tonight. You know what I mean? Make money, money, take money, money. Listen, It's that flow nicely, precise blows like Tai Chi. My foes profile and posing in Nike as I quietly rock the X like it's 9-3. My light screen, I improvise wisely, compose motion pictures like Spike. We doing what's right. Only heavy hitters in my circle, like mine's different goals we all trying to pursue. Kick truth, decolonize the world. We fools thirsting for views on YouTube, likes on the gram. That's ego. Raps harder than tweets from a leapo facing the evils. Sabotage facades, cats shy with applause while they plotting the double cross. Raw, but show it's like that, and that's the way it is. Arranging life, place these hits, blaze these, and get mine since the 1999. Like comments, sound bombing these fake shaman. Thinking they so nice with no stripes. We expose Rachel Dolezal types. It's like they wanna flex, try to annex the truth. Get power and influence to cast the image in you. But show we get hip to it. Ain't no way we let them infiltrate this music. Splash on mics and exert the influence. And now we traveling without moving, kids. You know we hip to it. Ain't no way we let them infiltrate this music. Splash mics, then exert the influence. And now we traveling without moving, kids. My team's so gifted, it's no image. We code switching to grow business, got provisions. Across the globe, they blow kisses and wanna roll splits with this kid with the style so vicious. Each verse gold printed, give them a glimpse of what could be. Ascension is key, so why you shook be? Eyes hidden beneath the woolly. All I see is Kanye copies. We like Gandhi in a hoodie, and you know I stand close to the edge. Don't push me, what kid? The mic check, sparking riots. We in the city of missing women and sleeping giants, and talk philosophy, then demonstrate applied science. You should try it. You know I'm talking to these dick riders, biters, while my taste stays refined, the finest. Cats all on some whack shit, thinking that they stylish, but all I see is implicit bias. But sure we hip to it. Ain't no way we let them infiltrate this music. Splash on mics, then exert the influence. And now we traveling without moving. What? You know we hip to it. Ain't no way we let them infiltrate this. Splash on mics, then exert the influence. And now we traveling without moving, kid, 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 without moving. It's like that, y'all, and you don't stop. Super duty, and we rockin' a short shot. This one life for love, so they could only be. This one life for love, so there could only be one. What it is. We need you to rock with us, you know what I mean? No matter where you are, on the couch, you know what I mean? In the kitchen, at the desk, in the studio, wherever you at, rock with us, listen to me. Yo, it goes on the count of 3, say fuck the police. 1, 2, 3, fuck the police, yeah, fuck them. Applaud anybody that buck them. They bullies with immunity and terrorists to function. Don't gotta be on corners to be dodging and ducking them. Girls getting pulled over, cops be touching them for real. And sexual assault be facts, check the stats. You'll see they predators with a badge, yo, it's mad. Same cats talk about law, they kill a child in the street and won't face no charge, that's trauma. And now we all got scars talking that fit the description. Put your hands on the car and don't move. And they all sing the same tune. Treat it like a game, cause you know they can't lose. Cause even when they caught, you know they won't be convicted. A trial for the public, but he's still gonna be acquitted. It's vicious, and it's been that way for years. A jury of his peers, couple hours and he's cleared of murder. DA serving that purpose. Disappear the footage of the killings, picture perfect. That's if the body cam's working, cause they failing. If they catch it on your cell, then they throw your ass in jail, it's real. And they wonder about the riots, but when it's cops burning and looting, they be quiet. I'd rather stay burning this illusion than be silent. Cause yo, you talking to a giant. So yo, on the count of 3, say the police. 1, 2, 3, fuck the police, yeah, fuck them. Let's go, right here. Listen, but it's not just the cops. This trickle-down corruption shit is rotten from the top. Punk cops, just a small blemish on the face of the issue. Real problem is systemic. To the way they're implemented, neighborhoods police, the disparities in your sentence. The law fraud since inception. The flag red with the same blood of Max's hands are drenched in. No wonder they get protection from the crown. Code of sounds deafening, you better not make a sound. The violence is explicit from the prime minister down. Tears of reconciliation with the pipeline through your town. The main accomplished in the press. Either ignore the issues or manufacture consent. They crucify Lori Douglas for consensual sex. But how many Johns and pedophiles still on the bench? The stench cover-ups like bad tattoos. Nah, I mean, and what have you. I'm non-violent, but put the gun in my hand. You know I have to blast the shot direction of the judge for Cindy Gladu. And then they try to blame it on my hoodie. Complexion is a Contravon Martin, the coat and bushy. They got me on the edge and all they trying to do is push me as they celebrate the kudos of our killers and our bullies. But we won't break or bleed. Bury us cause we seize no justice, no peace. Fuck police. Thank you.
To you now.
All right, welcome back. Up next, we have Molly Swain from Freelands Free Peoples. Molly is Métis from Treaty 7, Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3, and currently lives in Treaty 6 territory. Take it away, Molly, sorry.
Tansei, I am very happy to continue on with the 10 reasons to support prairie penal abolition. So reason number 4, prisons and policing enforce the ongoing dispossession of Indigenous peoples from our lands, languages, and cultures. Indigenous people on the prairies have been criminalized through policies and laws developed to expand settler control over Indigenous lands and resources, especially for the purposes of resource extraction and land expropriation. Settler laws and policies make our presence and behaviors illegal on our own lands. Indigenous cultural forms like sun dances and potlatches were criminalized for more than 65 years in an attempt to forcibly assimilate our peoples. The past system effectively criminalized Indigenous gatherings among our communities. The Natural Resources Transfer Act made us squatters in our own communities, and the Indian Act made it illegal to protect our children from the genocidal residential school system. Incarceration and child and family services continue to remove Indigenous people from our lands, literally, and disrupt culture and language transmission among our people. Children cannot learn from their parents and grandparents, youth and adults cannot learn from elders, elders cannot transmit Indigenous knowledges and languages to the next generations. Incarcerated Indigenous people are prevented from fulfilling the responsibilities to our lands and communities that are essential to our resiliency and continuation as peoples. Reason number 5, prisons and policing dispossess all people from the land by acting as racist, classist, cis-heteropatriarchal, and ableist forms of social control of public space. Prisons and policing operate to contain undesirable populations and discipline unacceptable ways of living and modes of behavior, whether or not people or their actions are actually committing harm. Prisons operate as a social cleansing mechanism that prioritizes white, ableist, homophobic, and transphobic patriarchal concepts of civility and respectability above how people actually live and interact in our communities in order to control who can truly access and feel safe in public and commercial spaces, demonstrated, for example, by widespread carding and racial profiling of Black and Indigenous people in the streets and in businesses. Prisons and policing are also intimately tied to the establishment and maintenance of colonial state borders and border control that limit the mobility of primarily Black, Indigenous, and people of color, to deny us the rights and considerations associated with legitimate citizenship. Canada and the Prairie Provinces have long histories of working to contain, expel, and/or subjugate these undesirable populations, demonstrated through examples like the Chinese head tax, internment camps, the raising of Africville, immigration bans, etc. And the detainment, denial, and deportation of migrants now is a contemporary iteration of those same processes. Back to you, Issa.
Thank you, Molly. So up next, we have Callie Luyaltque with spoken word. Callie is a Niska poet, an activist, and ecologist who grew up in Tsimshian. Again, I suck at saying words. Territory in so-called British Columbia. Callie weaves her experience and knowledge of Indigenous social issues into her poetry, which she frequently delivers as open calls for action and change. So we'll take it away, Callie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So this first poem that I'm going to share is actually a bit of an older piece, but I wanted to share it because it's related to child family services. And I wrote it back in 2018, which was during the time of the Justice for Our Stolen Children camp. And, you know, it was a response in direct response to the outrageous apprehension of Indigenous children, as well as their treatment and a lot of the deaths that we have seen across the country, including Colton Boushie and Tina Fontaine. And, you know, I thought it was relevant to tonight because, especially for incarcerated Indigenous women, incarceration and child apprehension go hand in hand. And yeah, so I'll just get into it. I was in the Aboriginal Student Service office one day, and right in the middle of conversation, someone asks, "So how's the child custody case going?" And several people turned around because they didn't know who she was talking to. That's how we know we have a problem, because for us, it ended in a moment of laughter. But if I peel back the flesh of my own experience, there's a raw pain that lies beneath, in twisted nerves and frayed synapses, explosions of electric dreams darkened by the shadows of tiny hands slipping quickly out of sight. Sorry, 1 second. This is kind of an emotional piece for me, and particularly because, you know, since then, since 2018, my own experiences with child parent separation has, you know, it's gotten a lot better. But when I think about the women who have been incarcerated, and some of which I've, you know, met during some classes that I've taken, like, it really hasn't gotten better. And so, you know, my heart hurts when I think about it. So, okay, I'm just gonna start again. I was in the middle of the Aboriginal Student Service office one day, and right in the middle of conversation, someone asks, "So how's the child custody case going?" And several people turned around because they didn't know who she was talking to. That's how we know we have a problem. Because for us, it ended in a moment of laughter. But if I peel back the flesh of my own experience, there's a raw pain that lies beneath, in twisted nerves and frayed synapses, explosions of electric dreams darkened by the shadows of tiny hands slipping quickly out of sight. Darkened by the shadows of tiny hands slipping quickly out of sight, And there's this ringing in my ears that are actually the strangled screams of loss echoing down the corridors of time, and I realize that they have become my own. It's as if I could feel the bereft spirits of childless mothers passing right through me, compressing 150 years of colonial violence into a single moment of understanding. See, the dirt under the nails of Canadian history is buried within the child welfare system. It has made kidnapping legal, poverty a crime, and created lies about Indigenous people to try and undertake a genocide. In court, I am already invisible, an inconvenience to the powers that be. Just like being on this land, I'm already at fault for simply being here in the first place. But the lawyers, they have not seen all the roadmaps of the journeys we have traveled together in our hearts. They don't know that every time I sing to you, I pull the stars down with my voice so you can be that much closer to wonder. They don't know how I've kept vigil all those sleepless nights, made my body a cradle to protect the flame of your life as you burned with fever. And it's true, I am yet another thread in an unwoven tapestry, but I will never come undone. I will seize the uncut cord of my strength and stitch closed the mouth of empty apologies. I will notch my tongue as an arrow aimed at the heart of my oppressors. I will let truth sprout from my lips, let nationhood spring from between my thighs. I will sing. I will pray. I will celebrate all the lost ceremonies our medicine people have been resurrecting from the dream world. We are strong. And our children are such a huge threat to their sovereignty that when we build protest camps outside legislative grounds, they're all grasping at straws, trying to hit us with bylaw infractions because keeping the lawn green is more important than bringing our children home. Listen, settlers, it's time to make things right. It's time for us to redefine this reconciliation. It's time to make things right. Otherwise, your hearts will have so many loose ends, our entire world might get blown apart by the force of disconnection. Because it's not just about our kids, it's about yours too. It's about taking care of this land for the next 7 generations of all the nations gathered here. The security of our future is spinning out of control, but we can make it stop if we just grab onto that medicine wheel. I don't know if you know, but there's a place for you on it too. Hold on with us as we pray to all 4 directions our humanity can be restored. This is so weird. I'm just sitting in my basement right now and I feel like I'm just talking to myself. But I'm aware there's a bunch of people watching, so thank you for bearing with me and your patience. I'll just quickly go through my next one. Okay, let's see. So oftentimes, we hear talks about missing and murdered Indigenous women, as well as stolen children, But yeah, tonight we're here to talk about incarceration. It affects our men, and more than that, I wrote this poem, and it's about how colonial society affects our men sort of in a more psychological way that we've seen become really toxic. So I'll go into it. The colonizer steals away our women, while the colonizer's toxic masculinity steals away our men. Give us back our men, the ones who hold their trauma so tightly they could press diamonds of wisdom through their fingers. If only they could open their tender palms, sift through the coal black ash of their childhoods, learn what to hold on to and what to let go. Give us back our men, the ones who think that they're not wanted, who believe that the addictions in their veins and the chaos in their families can never have a fix,
And no matter how many times they dust the poverty from their clothes or wipe the imprint of family violence from their eyes, society still calls them dirty. And although they can make friends on any street corner, make the outcasted feel seen, they can hardly show their faces at home anymore. Society says that men like to fix things, but will look down on him when he's low, because how dare a man admit that he himself might be broken? Give us back our men, the ones who feel imprisoned in their skin even after leaving the jail cell. Intimidation and distrust become foundation because whenever they're with settlers, they're already being treated like a threat. In the midst of poverty and racism, this cycle continues. They go back to that thug life because they want to fuck a system that's already taken so much. And the only form of resistance they know is the one created by the fist. Give us back our men, the ones working labor and camp jobs, upholding industries that are basically the same as digging their own graves, abandoning the earth and their own people to the riptide of pollution. They say men need to make money to ensure family survival, but this type of manhood is anything but sustainable. Give us back our two-spirit men, the ones who have the Creator's name etched inside both eyelids. They can see both sides of the spirit, where medicine is needed, male or female. Honor their strength. It is hard to wake up every morning, wiping the colonial idea that you are filth from your own eyes, fighting day after day, until holding on to your own spiritual gifts becomes a strength that merely looks like crying. Give us back our men, the ones who are learning that crying is also a healing ceremony. When the slow evaporation of tears become prayers, they don't really have to fall. Instead, they can rise to higher levels of self-understanding. When we allow colonial society to teach our men about their own masculinity, they are robbed of emotional literacy. So give us back our men, the ones who have lost their way and the ones who are finding it. May we restore healthy masculinity and change this toxic story that stole our men from us in the first place.
Miigwech Callie, those words were, wow. It's really hard, like, not to break down and cry while listening to everyone's powerful words. And my heart is with you right now. So I just wanted to say again, thank you, Callie. You can catch next performance is August 6th from 9 to 6 p.m. for the Indigenous Poets Society. It's a spoken word cafe. So if you want to check that out, you can. Next, we have more of the 10 steps that we can take from Serenity Jew from Prison Libraries Committee, Treaty 1 in Winnipeg.
Hey everyone. 10 reasons to support prairie abolition, continued. Reason 6. Prisons and policing reinforce the tenets of white supremacy, cis heteropatriarchy, ableism, and classism. White supremacy and racism. Indigenous people make up 1/3 of all people incarcerated in Canada, even though they make up only 5% of the nation's population. In the prairie provinces, these numbers are even higher. 54% of those incarcerated are Indigenous. In some provincial jails on the prairies, Indigenous people make up 85 to 90% of the incarcerated population. Black and Indigenous incarceration rates continue to climb as penal capacities continue to be deliberately expanded. The Black incarceration rate increased 71% between 2006 and 2015. Meanwhile, since 2010, the non-Indigenous, non-Black incarcerated population has decreased by 13.7%. Patriarchy and heterosexism. Indigenous women constitute the fastest growing imprisoned population. In Manitoba, there has been a 460% increase in women's imprisonment overall since 2003 and 2004. Over 80% of those women are Indigenous. For women, policing and imprisonment are extensions of the gender violence that structures society at large. This violence is reflected in the physical, sexual, mental, and emotional abuse of police and prison guards. The so-called crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women is in fact a manufactured result of the police system that ignores, dismisses, and perpetuates violence against these women and girls. As well, for two-spirit, trans, gender non-conforming, and queer people, policing and prisons are sites of state-sanctioned violence. Prisons are structured as transphobic and homophobic spaces that further negate and threaten the lives of people who do not conform to settler categories of sex and gender. The prison system's lack of oversight, transparency, and accountability work to make invisible these continuations of harm. This lack of transparency has only intensified during COVID-19. Ableism. Prison and policing criminalize and punish people with disabilities. According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, an estimated 15 to 40% of people currently incarcerated have a mental health issue, a high disproportion to the population at large. Of the 460 people who were killed by police since 2000 in Canada, over 70% of them had mental health or substance abuse issues. Being subject to policing and imprisonment are causes of deteriorating mental, physical, and emotional health. Classism. Prisons and policing only exacerbate existing economic inequalities. For example, policing homelessness does nothing to alleviate homelessness. Overall, people with less wealth and resources have a harder time navigating every step of the criminal justice system. Ticketing, bail, court, and attorney fees, and parole and probation fees are just some of the ways policing entraps those with fewer means. Reason 7. Prisons and policing are explicitly used to try to control political dissent. The criminal justice system continues to mobilize against acts of Indigenous self-determination, racial justice, climate justice, and other forms of political resistance. Standing Rock and Wet'suwet'en are just two recent examples wherein police continue to undermine and attack Indigenous sovereignty. Currently, we're witnessing how police are responding with force and violence to peaceful and legal Black Lives Matter rallies across the US and Canada. These are just some recent examples of a long history of struggle for self-determination and social justice that policing has attempted to thwart since the arrival of settler colonialism in North America. Across Canada and the US, the core function and origin of policing has been the enforcement and defense of private property, whether this private property is stolen land, storefronts, or enslaved people. In the present, this manifests in many ways, including the policing of quote-unquote disorderly people who are quote-unquote not good for business, or the federal and provincial statutes that prohibit interference with quote-unquote critical infrastructure, aka pipelines. As a settler institution, policing protects those in power and prioritizes property over lives. Therefore, it is important for different groups on the prairies to unite against prisons and policing, because whatever your struggle is, from saving the earth to saving your job, police and prisons will be used against you eventually.
Thank you so much, Serenity. And now we're on to our next artist, and that is Melanie Monasteros. Melanie is a poet and interdisciplinary artist exploring polysensory production. I actually just really like saying polysensory, and somatic grief through textile. A Black, oh God, I'm going to say it wrong, but I'm going to try, Tano Arawak, queer and chronically ill creator. They live in Treaty 1, Winnipeg, Manitoba, home of the Métis First Nation and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Dene, Cree, Dakota, and Ojibwe nations. In 2019, Melanie was awarded the JRG Emerging Artist Award for their continued pursuit, integrating technology and accessibility through film via their series, The Ancestor Radio. In 2020, Melanie's work could be found at Gallery 1C03 at the University of Winnipeg and the Window Gallery of Winnipeg as well. So let's hand it over to Melanie.
Thank you. And thank you for having me as part of this evening. I'm going to share a couple of poems with you. Content warning for racism and police violence and mental health. Okay. Black matter, excellence. I thought I knew the meaning of my Black being. Then they started killing us on camera. Trayvon and Frank and Junior and Rakia and Tamir and Rodney. Those names and faces and deaths I would come to know and mourn and never meet. Where does it hurt? I thought I knew the meaning of my Black being, growing up surrounded by white people, going to school surrounded by white people, moving to Toronto surrounded by white people. I thought my Blackness meant singularity and isolation and otherness. I've grown so accustomed to being in contrast to my surroundings. I'm the only child in my group of friends, or I'm the only one who can't do the activity, or I'm the only one without a mom, or I'm the only Black kid. I thought I knew the meaning of my Black being, that always being outnumbered by whiteness, that being whitewashed of the Black in my bones, feeling this kind of aloneness was okay, until it wasn't, until they killed Michael Elligan. I remember the year before when I was deep in my crazy courtesy of mismatched prescription from my doctor, the year things were real dark and reality wasn't something I always recognized or participated in. When they killed him instead of helping him. When they killed him instead of helping him. What would have happened to me if I'd wandered away from home at that time? Would I end up dead in the street in my nightgown and sock feet? No time to wonder, because next came Zoltan and Jermaine and Freddie and Walter and Sumaya and Sandra and Andrew and Alton and Philando and Oluwatoyin and Brianna and Tony and Regis and George. As part of my heart shattered over and over, wounds to scab and wounds to raw to scab, other parts started to grow. Those names didn't come to me in isolation. When I learned about Trayvon, I found solace in Alexis. As I mourned Michael Brown, I met minds with Patrice and Opal and Alicia. The fear and helplessness that choked me when they killed Sandra found power to keep pushing when Bree climbed that flagpole. After crying and witnessing wails of Black, queer, and trans fam when Sumaya's death went uninvestigated, I found hope for Black, queer, and trans youth and futures in Amanla, and wisdom that we will keep going, we will continue to survive in Miss Major. I swayed with tears on my skin to the songs being sung for Jasmine to be free. We are so strong. We are so powerful. We are so vulnerable because of that power. My Blackness lives in a spirit that lives in a body that lives in a prolonged moment of state-sanctioned genocide of Black and Brown and Indigenous people. When my able-bodied orbit shifted and I came into my cripness, I grew deeper into my Blackness. The meaning of my Black being, my Blackness, my Black life is valid and of value. My Blackness is meaning. Freedom Place. Dandelions don't know whether they are a weed or a brilliance, but each seed can create a field of dandelions. We are invited to be that prolific and to return fertility to the ground, to the soil around us. Adrienne Marie Brown. A place without inhibition, he said. That sounds wonderful, I replied. We'll get there, he said. I hope so, I replied. Harriet said, my people are free. And then we were. And then we weren't. And then we were. And now we are, aren't we? Every oak is Octavia. deep-voiced and tall, thick-limbed and dark, full of creases from smiles and concentration. We will get there, she said. If time isn't linear, then it's not too late for the stars to tell us what they've learned. We break the cycles of trauma by not recreating the patterns of pain we inherit. I break the cycle by opening portals through time that show me as a witch by my sorcerer mother's side. I break the cycle by remembering that I have not lost that magic. My dreams for freedom become part of the atmosphere tumbling from our cries and prayers and screams and explosions of laughter. My dreams of liberation rush along air currents sent spinning from the vibration of our bodies, our ideas, our expressions. Caught on an updraft like dandelion seeds carrying billions of years of migration tales, bidding farewell to their stem and source, trusting that the wind will take them somewhere they can grow. Thank you.
Miigwech, Melanie. Again, those words are creating such images in both our minds and really our souls. So I want to say miigwech and thank you so much for sharing that tonight. Next, we're going to hear from Shondell McCauley from Bar None about more of the 10 ways.
10 reasons to support prairie abolition. Reason 8. Prisons and policing don't make communities safer. The prairies have some of the highest rates of incarceration in the country. People in prisons are not safe and are regularly experiencing risks for both their physical and mental health. Prisons are often lacking in basic mental and physical health supports. With the current outbreak of COVID, being locked up represents a much greater risk of contracting the virus, as suggested precautions such as social distancing are not possible. We have been made aware of prisons lacking basic hygiene and protection supplies such as soap and masks. During this time, a common protective measure has been to lock people up in their cells for 23 hours a day, only letting them out for a short time. Human rights have been violated if folks were locked up for over 24 hours with no access to food or a toilet. Even though often the first responders to mental health crisis, police have very little training in how to support and de-escalate a prison in crisis. In fact, police are known to escalate situations, often resulting in unnecessary violence and sometimes death. In Winnipeg, since the start of the pandemic lockdown, the police have killed 3 people in the span of 10 days. The majority of policing is addressing things like noise complaints, theft, property damage, and basic survival strategies such as drug use and sex work. While these may give impressions of safety for some, the risk of criminalization creates many dangers for others. Police harassment and the hyper-policing of low-income, BIPOC neighborhoods are methods of violent control over the people in those communities. The constant fear of being harassed, arrested, beat up, or even killed by police has severe physical and mental health implications. This violence has gone on for generations, leaving Black and Indigenous folks to navigate hundreds of years of intergenerational trauma. Perpetrators of sexual violence are rarely, if ever, convicted. Hundreds of cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women are still unsolved. And people like Gerald Stanley, who murdered Colton Bushy without remorse, are still free. Policing and imprisonment fuels cycles of violence. Imprisonment and policing kill people. They are a threat to public health. Reason 9. Prisons and policing destabilize and fracture families and communities. Prisons are often located outside of the city and not accessible by public transit, making visiting loved ones who are locked up difficult and inaccessible. Prisons remove parents from children and children from parents. Prison removes income and labor from households and local economies. Imprisonment literally rips families apart, contributing to the destabilization of entire communities and neighborhoods. In this time of COVID-19, familial relationships are further fractured as visits are prohibited and movement is limited. Reason 10. Prisons and policing dispossess people of the means to solve their own problems. The majority of police do not live in the communities that they police, and the mobilization of police and prisons rarely, if ever, resolves conflicts sustainably in ways that strengthen our communities. Funding for police and prison comes at the expense of funding for people's basic needs and/or community resources. It's one of the highest budget lines in both Winnipeg and Edmonton. In Winnipeg, making up almost 30% of the city budget, with more money put towards policing than transit, public libraries, or firefighting. Police and the courts monopolize people's responses and dictate supposed remedies to conflict. Police will often refuse to honor people's decisions regarding whether or not to press charges, and rarely offer long-term support for partners and families who are affected by penal intervention. Imprisonment makes it difficult, if not impossible, to create restorative relationships of accountability. Police make it impossible for people involved in a conflict to divine it in the ways of their choosing and to steer the course of the responses that make sense to them. Many people and communities already know that the police and prisons will not and cannot resolve conflict or provide safety. Organizations like Black Lives Matter, Drag the Red, and Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, many others, are already doing concrete, practical work to obtain justice within our communities and to demand justice from a larger society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shondell. And now to our penultimate act of the evening, we have Shima Robinson. Shima, aka Dweneman, is, I'm going to try to say this just because my Kukum said that I should always try to speak the language, is an Emeskwasi Waskehaken, Edmonton-born spoken word artist who embodies the ancient meaning of her chosen pen name. Dweneman is the name of an ancient Adinkra symbol, which means strength, humility, learning, and wisdom. Shima has upcoming performances with Found Festival, which you can find at commongroundarts.ca/found/that. Both a solo production of some of her lesser known work and curation of poetry showcase featuring local poets. Shima's website is denseverse.net, and Insta is Dweneman, and Facebook is also Dweneman. So let's take it away, Shima.
Thank you, Issa. Sorry. Thank you, Issa. All right, I have one poem today. I wrote it specifically for this event, and I haven't titled it yet, so I guess it's just this poem. Here we go. We are bound up by the illusion of security, enduring atrocity in the grip of known terrors. Heavy cell doors keep our kin shut in, prisoners of the state's sordid making. The cavernous maw of the law laughs in the faces of the defiant strong, whose bodies are kept at the behest of decrees of detached monarchy. We stand on condition, subjected to dictum, that were never made for the glory of justice. Our limited allowances of poultice to calm the throb of our kicked-in necks, boot heels licked by the avaricious citizenry, are met with the stench of surrendered dignity. We can all cross the line so easily, but suffer the maul of judicial consequence, wrong with what we've been taught, of the character of outlaws and the dimming of personal prospects for simple respect, when our own are held in the monotonous monstrosity of the plot to rid the land of its stewards, held behind cinder block and steel, stealing glimpses of humanity from memories. The words of our legal representatives clash with attacks from the crown, onslaughts of the tyranny of race war, demolition of a traitor savior's promise to do better for us than we could for each other. The notion of peace is distant, yet we try to keep it in vain. For the memory of our taken, for the memory of ourselves, as we have also been stolen as well. Some come to see and taste the false freedoms, and some to spurn them for survival. Means stripped viciously from hands by the thieving arrangements made official, with the thick spilt blood of our forebears, whom we never get to recall, as the warriors they were, drawn up to their full stature. Dirges sung where we should have lullabies. Let my people go, the battle cry, as we preserve a legacy of resistance, building a movement with the insistence of our nature as even more than human, greater than subject. We are spirits of ancestors returned. We are witness, uncompromising, traveling lightly with heavy burdens to shoulder, smoldering in the heat, rising off the steel weaponry of sanctioned gang soldiers wearing hues of blue that don't think before they shoot or ask questions of those presumed guilty. We're all fire and ire under accusation for the rights, words, and practices assured by that lauded charter, implicitly amended day to day to suit the recoil and clawback designed by the feverishly endowed pets of an empire in debt, who live in denial of the tarnish and havoc. We withstand for the chance to speak truth to one another, siphoning virtue from the open wounds in our spirits that were meant to kill us. Though our power is made of more than sinew and bone, we keep the lights in our eyes to find our ways home. That's that one. I don't know. I forgot how much time I have. I don't know. What should I do? I have one more I can do, but I don't know how much time I have.
Go for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah, go for it.
This one is called Landing, and I do it a lot. I perform it everywhere, so I'll perform it here. Landing, it goes like this. There is a place in my heart that has been too painful to mention. A known rule from home, it will moan to me as I speak to you in tones. On the edge of the threshold where the water is cursed, doors closed on the heads of the damned near immersed, in the swelter of the scene of the blister unburst, the chattel of fell design concealed glints of the sunburst. Thrust their bodies into the abandon of would-be truths denied, abused, discarded, and decried, bound in the bloodthirsty roiling of a continental lie, saw their ancestors fly into the storm of their own shuddering eyes, concealing the heat of ore in rage-red smolder, groaning in its warp that kept the calm of resign and the passion of rebellion, giving nuclei to atomic creations, coaxing bone memory from Atlantic skeletons, the seat of the souls of nations risen in the form of children born only to die. Living on in a brandished, blanched lie, we took on the heat of the cauldron of sear and hiss. We drink deeply now down to our bones, and by the dint in our wrists turn the gestures of livelihood into signs of a stylish diss. Smiling with, oh wow, I've forgotten this. Shoot. Just a sec, y'all. Smiling with enamel made of the molten armor of our ancestors' marrow, whose captive entanglement was chained to the vile sonorant lie of a low origin in the burr brambles of mere moment upon moment upon moment upon moment, until it became time for us to realize that we are the stolen who found a home with an open stride, and the rise of distant tides that color eyes to dizzying rounds that allow the scope and breadth for the drumming up of a calculated guess of what made that message we acknowledge with that fondness on our lips and caution in our fingertips. Each time another rebel bleeds hello, smiling through reddened teeth to keep hell beneath us, questioning its realness for the dignity of lurid uttered curses, administered as curatives pulled from the sticks we'd picked out of the onslaught, to remind us of the customs that made us save the world we've wrought under the tutelage of our mother's uterine nurture. Her voice is reverberating through the fluid purpose turned to wind as we raised our blessed heads to the din of industry and the sordid contortions of our love of land. Her molten tones that consumed all of our bronzed arrogance and smelted our iron metal to be folded into the alchemy of our older luster that cloaks our newer customs, until we clustered our complaints at the footsteps of our elders and wept for their remembrance. We had grown to know what they had been told to name as golden, the solstice, the passage of seasons, and the landing of our feet from Ari drifts into the fume of cooling pits that keep fire in the winter and charcoal in the springtime, heat flung of a hearthstone that spits, so we could bask in their back-raised brazen protective rage, chasing the minions of the masters of none over the cliffs of our gods, who eschew the words some of us now use for them, and reduce our slavering enemies to lovable earth, petrified in its birth. Nurtured by our thirst, we seek water, and curse what airs in our hearts, recalling the cold, stainless tap of the metronome of lack, our benefactor, drinking deeply of disaster to decipher its craft and unmake its math, even as it leaves us running over broken land, tongues uncracked. My proud heaving chest, my eyes, my yes man behest, less agreement than imperative pressure, my sachet in salute to the way my mother still walks defiantly past the tyrant screams built into the dreams of every immigrant queen, of every common castle built with uncommon hustle, lunging toward the affront of danger with billow and blaze that burn lasting warning into her children, who gather and rally to back down disaster at the sound of her grave, deepening laughter that buried Babels to the rafters, time and time again built this friend. So for my first friend, so I'll follow in her footsteps and track those of our people further back than the unholy steeple and the blasphemous flail. I'm a child of a war, a lover of raw strength worked into supple sound, the voices in the round that are guided by stars and ruled only by a broken conch that lost the wail of the ocean's want, that had crested its foam and froth over the wrath of our brutal crossing, that cannot softly sing another echo into the ears of the desperate bent over their own withdrawn affluence, starved for the sound of landing passage that will summon marrow to mourn in the birth of new words for known, that can have us all speak new words for home. That's me. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Oh, miigwech shima. That was, I feel like my emotional love cup is very full after tonight's performances. You're all just so amazing and so talented. And I'm really happy that I was asked to be a part of this, because now I get to leech off of all your emotions. Thanks for that. So our final act for this evening is an audio recording. And I just want to make sure that everyone sticks around after our final performance is done, because we have a few words and a few things to go over before this is over. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Corey Cardinal. Corey is an advocate for fairness, safety, and respect for prisoners within the Saskatchewan Provincial Correctional System. He is the founding member of Inmates for Humane Conditions, and he has worked for years on improving conditions for prisoners. Corey advocates on all levels, including assisting individual prisoners with access to healthcare, discussions with correctional staff on improving cell conditions, and legal advocacy and creating a more fair discipline charge procedure. Corey's relentless work pushes for systemic change that improves the lives of prisoners across Saskatchewan. He is also a published author and poet whose work can be found in Straight Up and Gangs, The Untold Stories and Creative Escape, writing and art from the Saskatoon Correctional Center. Corey joins us today from a jail in Saskatchewan via a pre-recorded message. Thank you, Corey.
Inmates for Humane Conditions, Corey Cardinal. I will stand up to the structures of colonial suppression, teaching lessons of division amongst my peanut butter people of modest, vulnerable Indigenous beginnings. I will sit and write parables of forgiveness, teaching unification to the incarcerated First Nations, elevating the minds of Indigenous children, that knowledge of keepers is persistent in positions of power. The elder speak said, water is the strongest yet as soft as a flower. Cowards died the longest, take your death to the honor. Stronger is my people if every link is in order. Visions of natives in overpacked prisons like products in warehouse conditions. Please forgive him, he's living in third world conditions. The poetry of my people written in blood stains on the bricks like sick hieroglyphics of suffering, of ancient prisoners seeking immortality with the scrapings of futility where dignity dies. The minds of the children learn that tears form from broken treaties promised, trusted, and tried, to learn that the words of the system failed and they lied. Brought to you by Inmates for Humane Conditions, by Corey Cardinal. Inmates for Humane Conditions is a network of unified inmates advocating for a better change in the correctional services and for a better system for all. And I work to advocate against the over-incarceration and everything else associated with the demographic of young lost Aboriginal men here in the overcrowded system in Saskatoon Correctional and Saskatchewan across. When I first started, I was a patron of this systemic oppression that affected this demographic of young lost Aboriginal men who had no idea and had no chance of a defense in the form of their dignity, when it all boils down to dignity here, and which was taken from them, and they were put into cells and fed with watered down peanut butter sandwiches and kept at an over-incarceration rate. And these are a demographic of people that have been suppressed by a colonial system dating back before they were born. So they had no chance, and they were born into a system that worked to suppress them, as a spotlight of was on for young Aboriginal.
All right, thank you so much for sticking around and just really being a huge support for, you know, what it is that we want. And what we want right now is what we want right now is definitely change. We want change, and we want it now, like today, this second, this minute, this millennium. That's what needs to happen. So you being here and you being a part of that, you're a part of change. So miigwech on that. We wanted to end this event by suggesting actions you could take to contribute to building abolition on the prairies right now and into the future. So we're going to take you to a slideshow, and I'm going to guide you through the slideshow. These are actions and next steps. Abolition on the prairies. So the first action is you can donate to organizations committed to penal abolition and abolition-related and anti-police violence work. And you can see all the actions there. You can donate. So in Alberta, you can donate to various different organizations, and they are all listed. In Manitoba, and you can educate yourself on the history and function of prisons and policing. So we have a nice long list for you there. Please go through those. So many good ways to educate yourself. And then we have other resources, and there's a nice long list in there. It's all online for you to go through and educate yourself on the difference between prison reform and prison abolition, because there is a difference. So those are there online, and you can join local organizations working in solidarity with prisoners and families. So again, we have them all listed there for you. And you can become pen pals with a prisoner. So we have the process listed under there, and you can also volunteer with in-reach prison education programs. Again, we have all the resources listed there. Build networks that provide safety. Important. Read through those. And then we can build networks that provide safety / resources. So again, in there. And practice transformative justice and build harm reduction practices. So again, we have a nice long list for you right there. And resist punishment and punitive logics in everyday life. So that's very similar to Parenting 101. So just look at those. And resist small-scale reforms and community partnerships with police. Like now, today, is what we want you to do that. Okay, and I think we're done with the 10 reasons, or the more things that you could do. So thank you so much for being a part of this event. We want to extend a thank you to everyone who made this event possible, and there were quite a few people. Thank you to Freelance, Free Peoples, Bar None, Prison Libraries Committee, and all the people who supported the organizations of this event. Thank you to the amazing performers from across the prairies who have given their time and talents in support of abolition here on Turtle Island. Thank you to QPOC and the University of Manitoba Institute for the Humanities for their financial contribution to support our performers, because let's be honest, we can't feed ourselves off of the free exposure, because people die from exposure, y'all. Thank you to the Abolition Coalition, made up of abolitionists from coast to coast, who first inspired us with their own fundraiser in support of prisoners and recently released folks in Ontario. So thank you. You can find their fundraiser in the slideshow that we have just shared. And thank you to Spark Poster for generously donating their time and artistry for SMAAC's logo and poster. And please don't forget to donate and share the link to the Prairie Prisoner Support Fund. You can find the link posted in the description, where's my finger? Below, okay? And in solidarity and care, everyone have a good night. Miigwech.